Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivamy.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of heroic television or film. And this week on the podcast, we're talking about one of the big ones, one of the biggest grossing movies of all time.
I believe the biggest?
Is it? Yes, that's right. It is the biggest.
It is. It's a petty little bitch.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
It had to go back in theaters after it lost the title of the highest grossing movie.
I think that's cheating.
Jim, Jimmy Boy, John,
Mr. Cameron,
Mr. Kim Cam, Jimmy John Kim Cam.
If you haven't figured out, we're talking about 2009's Avatar.
Yes, the highest grossing box office film of all time. James needed that number one slot. He's got two up there. This and Titanic are in the top 5.
So in case you don't know what we're talking about, Avatar was the number one gross movie of all time. Endgame beat it, so they re-released Avatar before Avatar 2 came out.
Yes, that's right. Now, to be fair to Jim,
To be
fair to James
Jimmy
Cameron, to be fair to James, I believe then after Avatar took it, I think they did also do a re-release of Endgame to try to take it back. So I do think the pettiness did flip-flop a little bit, but Endgame didn't get it back. So I do think Endgame tried to re-release and get it back, but Endgame had been like only out of theaters for like 2 years, you know, and Avatar, it was like they got like a little 10-year bump, so they got a little more heat, I think.
All right, I don't recall this, but I'll take your word for it. Canada might not have gotten the re-release.
Maybe we didn't get it here. It was a limited run. Who knows how it's all going?
That's probably also fucked them.
Exactly.
You can't do a limited run if you're trying to get that spot.
You can't do it like that.
Trying to blow up your spot.
That's how I recall it. We're talking about Avatar this week on the podcast. The 2009 movie that is getting a sequel next week in 2022, almost 2023. So we're looking at 13 years later. The sequel comes out. Who do you think you are? The Incredibles? Come on now.
It isn't crazy to think how long we've been doing this podcast, and we've never done Avatar.
Yeah, well, they took their time getting that sequel happening.
I know, but we never even threw it in as like let's do top grossing movies or something, or just like things we would never cover. Sometimes we need a theme. During COVID, we needed some themes.
That is true. Some themes did come up.
And none of those themes were Avatar.
None of those themes were movies over 3 hours long.
No, this one's not. The next one is.
This one wasn't?
No, this one was 2 hours 47, I believe.
Really?
Very
you squeaked it in under 3.
Very
okay,
close
okay.
to 3. I'm not saying it's a short film.
It's under 3, though.
But the next one's 3 hours 10.
And the next one coming out next week is Avatar, the Way of the Water, which we're going to be covering next week, which is why we're doing this in our build-up to it. And as well, to kind of talk about more of James Cameron's obsession with water, we are talking about The Abyss over on our Patreon exclusive episode. That will be up shortly over on our Patreon page. So if you're one of our patrons, you'll get access to that shortly. If not, head over to patreon.com/fromsuperheroes, patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. If you sign up at the hero level, you get a bonus episode of this podcast every month. This month, we're going to be talking about The Abyss.
This dude loves water, huh?
This dude.
Titanic, too.
He's thirsty.
That or he's not. Is he super hydrated? James Cameron might be the most hydrated man.
Water everywhere, and not a drop to make any movies other than James Cameron movies.
And actually, there might not be a drop to drink. All the water is digital now.
It's all digital.
It's all digital.
It's all
water.
digital. Or salt water. Don't drink water near the Titanic. That's bad water.
Oh, that's bad water.
That's bad water. All right.
I think you could eat the iceberg.
Oh, iceberg water, fine.
You can eat because salt doesn't turn into ice.
The iceberg water, that's going to be just fine.
I'm gonna drink an iceberg.
You're going to drink an iceberg, a whole iceberg.
I mean, I don't know what makes an ice cube versus an iceberg.
I'm going to say size. I'm going to say largely size.
I don't know what the threshold is. It could just be a big ice cube.
I guess. You know what? Iceberg is in the eye of the beholder. I'm going to give you that one. We're rolling with that. But before we get into Avatar, we want to thank one of our sponsors of today's episode. We want to thank our wonderful friends over at Miracle Brand.
Oh, we love Miracle Brand. They have incredible bed sheets. We have a set, and they really help you find the right temperature when you're sleeping. It is so great. I've noticed such a difference in like my temperature cooling regulation since we got these sheets. No more leg out from under the covers.
Mm-hmm.
You know the leg.
Oh, you know the leg. We all get that one leg out to get a bit of airflow. I don't know why our brains are like, this'll fix it.
One leg out to cool you down. Haven't been doing it since we got the Miracle Brand sheets.
No, the Miracle Brand sheets are fantastic. It's really great for temperature regulation. I've been really enjoying it this week. I don't know if you can tell by the slightly raspy sound of my voice, but I've been fighting a common cold, and that means that I've been getting some temperature fluctuations during the evening, and Miracle Brand's sheets have been helping me deal with that. They have silver-infused fabrics made by NASA, which helps temperature regulate your bedding so that you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. And on top of that as well, they are going to help keep you clean because they have a whole line of self-cleaning, eco-friendly bedding, such as sheets, pillowcases, comforters that prevent 99% of bacteria and require 3 times less laundry. So you can be doing less laundry as well.
I love doing less laundry all the time, and especially when you're not feeling well. And you're like, I don't want to clean the sheets. I'm so tired. You're like, you don't have to. 3 times is less.
Hey, when you got a cold like me, your temperature's going up and down. You want something that's going to regulate the temperature well. You want something that's going to be clean a little bit longer. That's really going to help me get through the week. Thank you, Miracle Brand, for helping with that. So go to trymiracle.com/TFS. That is trymiracle.com/TFS to try it today or gift it to someone special this holiday season. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Save over 40% and be sure to use our promo code TFS at checkout to save even more and get 3 free towels. And Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Brand. Go to trymiracle.com/TFS and use the code TFS to claim your free three-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/TFS to treat yourself, a friend, or a loved one this holiday season. Thank you, Miracle Brand, for sponsoring this episode.
Thank you, Miracle Brand. And now, shall we go into the air and the water and the new planets of Avatar?
It's blue people. Let's talk about Avatar.
We're going to talk about Avatar.
All right, we have seen Avatar, I think for both of us for the first time since theaters.
I never saw it in theaters.
You never saw it in theaters?
No, I saw it at home. I never had that wild 3D viewing experience. I just watched it at home. So first time since watching it at my old house.
Gotcha. Okay.
At a previous residence.
Understood.
But you saw it in theaters.
I did see it in theaters in 3D. And yeah, we can discuss more of the 3D-ness of it in just a moment, but I don't want to derail us from starting with our usual and traditional simple question. Let's start with Diana, did you like it?
I didn't like it. No, I didn't like it. I'm not going to say it's not good, but I will say I didn't like it. Like, I can understand why people like this movie if it's like your jam. I think it's just boring. It's too long. There's no performances that pop except maybe Michelle Rodriguez, and she's in so little of it. The CG gets it just hurts your eyes after a while. I feel like this must be very different in 3D. I think it's probably a little darker, if I recall how 3D works and darkens up a movie. So it's just, I feel this movie hard to look at and not compelling and not super interesting, and I didn't like the story for the most part. So not a lot to like super enjoy.
So none of the components of it did you enjoy?
I would say each individual component I didn't enjoy, and as a whole I also didn't enjoy them when they put them together. But I respect the components. I think like it looks really good for the time, and I'm like, yeah, environment, cool. I love that. I like pushing oppressors out, like cool themes that I don't think are explored well in an interesting way. So yeah, didn't enjoy it, but I'm like, I respect Avatar, but I'm going to dunk on it for like an hour with very few highlights in between. Andrew, do you like Avatar?
No, I don't. I find it bland. I find it boring. I very much like you. I don't really enjoy anything about it. I don't understand how this is the highest gross. I mean, I understand that there was the 3D appeal of it. So I understand commercially and in terms of advertising, how it drew some people into theaters. I don't understand who loves this movie. I think that it's very bland. Like, some of the trivia for this movie is that, like, James Cameron claims that, like, he watched Pocahontas and he was like, I was inspired by that to make this. And I'm like, by inspired, do you mean to just tell that exact story, but they're blue?
And not nearly as well.
And not nearly.
Pocahontas rules.
And not as compelling and with weaker. Like, it's just one of these things where it's like, I don't know. I don't understand why this is so successful. It's so bland. It's so long. It's so boring. I would describe this movie as it feels like watching all of the cutscenes from a video game, and then you never get to play the fun part. So it really feels like if you like go to YouTube and you're like, hey, I wonder what the story of that video game I didn't play was. And it feels like watching a YouTube compilation of video game cutscenes, and you never get to do the fun thing ever. And it's that in a movie.
I will agree, and also I think you're being slightly too kind, because the analogy I came up with was it's like watching a lot of screensavers. I actually think it's more boring than what you described, because I've watched you play video games and been enthralled. I don't play them myself, so I don't have the button pushy fun. But I've watched a story unfold in a video game and been like, I would just watch this as a movie. No problem, and be fully into it. So to say like that this is like a video game cutscene, I'm like, it's more like when you get like really cool looking screensavers. And they're all just kind of like, oh, new screensaver. Oh shit, where's that place? Oh man. Butterflies. Oh, look at that deer looking right at me. It's just a bunch of screensavers.
It's all set up, no payoff. It's all premise. Yeah. The screensaver of like, look how cool this place is. And it's like, well, what story are you going to tell there? And the answer is no. No. We won't tell one.
But this movie is like boring, but also crazy. But not crazy in a way that's fun. It's a weird mix of impossible mixture of not fun but crazy.
Everything and nothing at the same time. It completely lacks subtlety, but also doesn't have a message, which is a wild conundrum to be like, how do you not have subtlety and have nothing to say at the same time? There is no depth, but it thinks it's deep. Everything about this movie is a conundrum as well. Like we were talking recently on the podcast about Andor, and no spoilers for those of you who haven't watched Andor, but we highly liked it. And we talked about how it was a series that had no subtlety, and that meant it went very hard with its themes and its messages. This has no subtlety and still doesn't go hard with its themes and messages. Like James Cameron has said in interviews, he's like, this is an apolitical movie. It's actually not anti-war, and it's not anti-colonialism. And I'm like, you have a line in this movie where Giovanni Ribisi says we need to kill the native savages to get the resources. How can that not be a political movie? And I really do think James Cameron is just like, I saw someone say that in Pocahontas, so I wrote that line again. And I honestly think there is...
And he doesn't think the themes have transferred because of that.
I sincerely think that there's no... Even when they say things that should have meaning... It's weird that you can feel there is no meaning or depth, even though there's no subtlety as well.
Yeah, because like Pocahontas, and I'm actually also going to throw in Fern Gully, very fun movie, as like, you know, movies about, very similar movies about like tearing down trees and nature for colonizing and get rid of the indigenous population. And those movies make you feel things for nature.
Right,
and this movie is so long and so focused on nature, but I still don't feel anything when any of the nature stuff is destroyed or the Na'vi are upset about it. And I don't know if it's because it's so alien, because it's so CG, because I don't really care about the actors because they're not doing a good job. There's just like a lot of things happening and none of them are clicking. And it's even kind of hard to describe why it's not working, because I don't believe we should bulldoze jungles for the most part and take people's homes away. I never believe we should take people's homes away. Jungles, I'm like, sometimes we need space, but I think we're good on space, so stop the jungles.
Yeah.
So I like feel like I should feel things. I'm like, I'm an empathetic enough and compassionate enough person that I should feel things for these characters as the home tree goes down, and I just don't.
And I think it's even, it is the writing. It's not the fantasy element of it, though I do think that is kind of part of why I think that like James Cameron and Disney thinks that this is a more marketable family piece. That it's like they're blue and it's an alien planet, so no one should feel bad. No one should feel bad. This isn't here to make you think or for anyone to feel guilty. This is fun, family fun time, fun.
It's not about any specific real life people. It's not about anyone can play any character because they're blue people. There's no worry about casting. You don't have to worry about if we've done a poor job or a good job. Anyone can be anyone in Avatar.
Absolutely, but I think that like it still has less meaning than that setting would warrant it. Like recently, I was playing God of War Ragnarok, and there is a section of that game where a decapitated head I wear on my belt is telling me about what amounts to be an anti-fracking metaphor on a dwarven planet. Well, there's a whaling ship where they've captured a whale, and it's like, whaling is bad, the environment is important, don't do fracking or dangerous mining. And a decapitated head on my belt told a man who was made out of the ash of his family that, and it had meaning. So, like, it being like, well, you know, it's silly, there's a blue person, it's not, like, it could and should still have meaning. Most fantasy does, and this just doesn't. It just doesn't.
There's like, I would say it's like 2/3 blue people, and then 1/3 of it is humans. Like the avatars are human a good chunk of this movie. You see Sigourney Weaver, you see Sam Worthington, you see Giovanni Ribisi. Like there's humans in this.
Yes.
And still nothing.
Yeah, still nothing.
Still nothing.
Still nothing. And like I feel like so much of it should be problematic, but like it tries to duck that using the fantasy elements.
Oh, this movie's wildly problematic to me.
It is, yeah.
I have huge problems with it. It makes me feel uncomfortable to watch it. I feel like this is Rachel Dolezal's favorite movie. She must love this. It's like, oh, you can change race.
Yeah, it is white savior.
They will accept you and welcome you in.
It's white savior complex to the extreme of literally becoming one of them.
To the absolute extreme. Like this, I can't even imagine the human equivalent of what is happening to this poor alien species. This is like if you had like The Last Samurai, which I think is a white savior story with Tom Cruise.
I think so. It's been a while since I've seen or thought about that one.
Well, like if he like just joins those people and then just like actually makes himself look Asian. Like that's the equivalent to this.
Yep.
And I hate it. I don't like it. It makes me feel wildly uncomfortable, and I don't want to see a second movie about this.
I fully agree with that. The fact that they are that now at the end is truly insane. The fact that he's a leader of them after 3 months is truly insane.
I mean, and also, like, it shouldn't be anyone, but the fact that it's him and not Sigourney Weaver and the other guy.
Yeah.
Like, Sigourney Weaver, like, a person they trusted for the most part and who genuinely has their best interests at heart and, like, thinks that they're wonderful and wants to learn about them genuinely from her heart. And they're like, that's not how white savior stories work. A guy who's a soldier has to learn how to love. And I'm like, he betrayed them the whole time.
And also, the love story's not good. None of it works. Like, you know what I mean? Like they don't hit any of the other things even strong enough to like glance past that.
Zoe Saldana is really trying.
She is.
She is great and really trying. For a woman who I never physically see in this movie, she is like wonderfully movement and like her acting is great. She is really trying to sell being in love with this man. This poor woman who also has to work with Chris Pratt in Guardians of the Galaxy just has to keep falling in love with these stony, nothing white boys who do nothing to help her in these scenes with like any kind of like romantic or emotional responses.
Yeah.
She's great though.
She is absolutely terrific. I would say that like there is no one who is getting this and giving it more than her. I would say it's her and Giovanni Ribisi, who's made wild decisions, are the two people who are kind of going for it. Giovanni Ribisi doing this like, I've got a weird American accent now. I need some unobtainium. Go get it. Giovanni Ribisi read this script and was like, oh, it's insane, and I'm going to play it like that. But him and Zoe Saldana's like, oh, I understand the depth of this more than anyone intended, and Zoe gets that.
She feels like she has emotions and she's connected to this earth in the way she describes, and that she has fallen in love with Jake, even though he is nothing. Even though Jake is nothing. It's just a couple of seeds fell on him, and now he gets to be the savior guy from a tree. And I assume that's because his body's not real, and the seeds were like, "What is this? What's this? What's this guy all about?"
Because it's different and
the
weird.
other Na'vi said that he smelt weird. Like they know when it's an alien avatar. They don't think that they're real Na'vi. So I assume the seeds were just like, let's check this guy out.
Yeah,
just a sniff.
Just a sniff.
It's like if our dog smelled someone and we're like, the chosen one. Oh no, he will lead us.
Oh, good God.
Sometimes you just need to take a sniff.
Sometimes you need to take a sniff. And as well, so Zoe's doing a great job. Sam Worthington, just flat as hell. This year, 2009, he was also the star alongside Christian Bale in Terminator Salvation. And I don't know why in 2009, James Cameron was like, Sam Worthington's the guy. Like I'm the Terminator guy. Sam's gonna be the guy for that. And I know that James wasn't directly involved with that, but he still has a writing credit and is a producer. And it's like, why did 2009 James Cameron be like, Sam's the guy? Hollywood was like, Sam's the guy.
He's not the guy, but at least with Terminator, I didn't mind him if I recall, because he played one of the Terminators.
Right.
Like, he's not supposed to have a lot of emotions. He's a robot who, like, I think thought he was human for a lot of the movie.
If I remember correctly.
But, like, that character should be flat. You shouldn't be, like, a big emotional guy if you're a Terminator robot. Like, so I don't remember. If I recall, I was like, oh, you're fine in Terminator. But then to be, like, you're the emotional crux of this very, like, romantic and, like, empathetic and compassionate, like, film. No, absolutely not. He can't even do an American accent. He's struggling to speak.
And I think that that's probably one of the bigger problems with his performance is that, like, I don't think I've seen a role where Sam Worthington has done his natural accent, so I don't know really what his range or what his acting capability is. But in this, it really does feel like he's straining with every word to maintain a neutral American accent, and he never gets a chance to act because every word is it feels like it's agony coming out of his mouth. It is true pain to fight his accent and to make this American. So I don't know if I ever see him act. I don't even want to say it's a bad performance. I'm just saying I don't know if he ever gets to perform because he is so in his own head visibly in every single shot.
That's fair, because you're not, like, in the moment focused on the scene when you're like, I gotta pronounce my A's like this. Like, and, like, he would lose it. So he would lose it all constantly in the video logs. He wouldn't lose it a lot as an avatar for some reason when he was blue, but he would slip into his natural accent a lot in the video logs, I found, especially when his character was supposed to be sleepy. Every time his character was supposed to be sleepy, he'd be like, I don't know how to do sleepy without my regular accents. And it would just disappear. But yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, there's very little acting happening. There is just line reading.
Yeah.
And, like, check out, my accent coach is going to be so proud of me. I've really nailed how flat this. I got all the syllables down.
I'm so flatly American. The Na'vi are a people who are 7 feet tall, and they really are going around the native forest here. It's like, okay, all right, you're really fighting each word, fighting each and every word.
He'd be a great Google Translate voice.
Yeah,
Just a nice flat, this is how you pronounce every syllable.
Yeah, wildly neutral, and to be like an American Marine, and like it doesn't sell it. And especially when you contrast him with Stephen Lang, who I feel like is
doing a fun job.
A phenomenal job. Even though, like, the writing doesn't necessarily have the depth or anything like that, he is the perfect casting.
He is the perfect casting. You kind of get lied to a little off the top because his introduction, it's like the first, like, 5 minutes of the movie, and he has, like, the best line in the movie. So you're like, oh, this is going to be good maybe. Because his line in the movie is, I'm in charge of security, I'm in charge of keeping you alive, and I will fail at my job. And I'm like, that's hard as nails. I love this. That's a cool line of dialogue. And then the movie never had another one of those. So I don't know if he, like, ad-libbed that, because it was a dope line. And, like, his character is, like, is fun and knows who he is. Like, he knew who this character was, and he never stepped back from that in any way. He's like, there's no humanity. He's just an asshole. I'm going all in.
And even, like, the little environmental storytelling of, like, you need the gas masks or the oxygen masks to live outside. And it's like, you can survive for about 20 seconds before you pass out, 4 minutes before you die. And him multiple times just holding his breath and being like, I'm going out there to fight the fight for 20 seconds at a time like, Jesus, you're scary.
And
You are
not-
a scary man.
Not even just holding his breath, making everyone else almost die. At one point, he like leaves the base and he's like, "Doors opening," and everyone has to be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!"
Everyone scrambles
all
to get a
humans.
mask. Yeah.
We all need to put masks on because this dude's fucking crazy.
Yeah, he's perfect casting and plays it so well. A two-dimensional character, but a really good performance of that.
Yeah, he disappears for huge swaths of this movie, so it's hard to make him like a highlight and be like worth watching for this guy. It's not,
Yeah.
because he's gone for like the whole montage where he's at where Jake's with the Na'vi. So like he's never around, but very very good casting. Does a very good job.
And I would say that like that's one of the biggest complaint about all the characters that I have in this movie is that even when they're performed well or cast well, like even Stephen Lang doing the Colonel really well, Zoe Saldana really giving everything to her character. No one has an arc. There's no progression. No one's really different at the end. Like at the end of the movie, it's supposed to be like, well, Jake is different because he cares about these people now. It's like I never really bought into the fact that he didn't.
Yeah, he didn't seem like an asshole. He was just a Marine. He
Yeah.
was just like, I'm going to do my job. And he's like, oh, no, these people are nice. But he never was like, let's kill them. He didn't want to hurt them.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was perfectly fine to have a scientific mission.
He softly betrayed them because of orders that he was given, but that was just kind of like a soft betrayal. Yeah, like
Even that betrayal, I was like, when all of the Na'vi are like, you knew they were going to attack us? I'm like, he introduced himself as a soldier.
yeah.
He walked into your home and he said, oh, I'm not a scientist. I'm a soldier. And you were like, oh, we're keeping this one.
Yeah.
We're not going to keep the scientists. We're going to keep the soldier and assume he's not here to attack us? Why else do people bring soldiers, Na'vi?
He was holding a gun.
He had a weapon.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they all have weapons. They're killing animals that attack them and stuff. But,
Sure.
But he's flat out said,
Yeah.
I'm a killer. I'm a warrior.
And like yeah,
And not a hunter. Not like I can protect people. Like a soldier.
A soldier. I do war. That
War
is
is
the
what
thing
I
that I
do.
do. And just no progression between all of the characters. The one that really kills me. The movie does so much say and not do. Where even when there is a air quote character arc, it's just something that's like the movie's like, don't worry about it. And I'm like, that's what movies are. I'm very much worried about it.
I want to see stuff.
The other dude who was part of the Avatar program.
Norm.
Norm
I love Norm.
Played by Joel David Moore, who I largely know from Dodgeball. And
I also largely know him from
funny
Dodgeball.
comedic actor. I think probably pretty good casting for the comedic person, but he doesn't get to do a lot with it. The movie has no charm or charisma, so obviously it's not going to be his chance to shine. But when suddenly Jake is like the one who's accepted into their culture, Jake's then like doing his narration and he's like, and Norm was resentful towards me because I did the thing that he really wanted to do and worked way harder than me at doing. But later he lightened up and we're friends now. And I'm like, that's what a story is. You need to show me that. Those are the beats of a human story.
That's the journey we're supposed to be going on.
That's
He's
the
resentful.
whole fucking movie.
He's resentful. You learn to become friends. You work together. He learns that you haven't tried to take this away from him, and you form a bond that will be unbreakable. But instead, it's just one line of narration. Absolutely very infuriating, especially because I really liked Norm.
Yeah.
And I wanted more Norm.
And the movie was just like, you have to accept that you like us because we're friends now. And I'm like, but I need to see you be friends
see
now.
someone like Jake, and it was like, we can't show you someone liking Jake. He's too flat and boring. You just have to take our word for it via narration.
Yeah, so telling us what that plot was, and I feel like that's a lot of the trouble with the writing of this movie is telling us the things that has occurred. Let's take a quick break in the episode to thank one of our other wonderful sponsors of today's episode. We want to thank our friends over at Uncommon Goods.
Oh my goodness, it's such a good time to go to Uncommon Goods. You're going to avoid boring, basic, bland gifts. You're going to find something incredible at Uncommon Goods for everyone in your life that you're not going to find other places. Everyone's going to be like, oh my God, what is that? Where did you get it? I love it. Such neat things.
Things that are going to be specialized. Yeah, you want to get things that are unique for the loved ones on your Christmas list. Unique things like we've mentioned it before, but from Uncommon Goods, we got this wonderful little cheese platter that's got a little tray in it that has all the cheese knives in there. It's cute. It's unpacked. It's compact. It provides the storage we need. It's a little talking piece. We lay out some cheeses when people are over. Where they're like, where are the cheese knives? I'm like, slide out that little drawer, baby.
Whoa! And then like the knives are like in the shape of each other. It's like they all got their own little spots. We feel very like professional cheeseries.
Yes,
Cheeseries.
that's the word.
Chooseroos. Cheesies.
Yeah, we're professional cheesies when we have that out. So we don't need to know the words, but we have a fun product, and that came from Uncommon Goods. And when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. These fine products are often made in small batches, so you can shop now before they sell out this holiday season. And they have products that are high quality, unique, handmade in the U.S., from art and jewelry to kitchen, home, bar. They got something for everybody.
Yeah, they got man, woman, adult, child. Like everyone on your list, you're going to find something super cool at Uncommon Goods.
Yeah, and with every purchase that you make at Uncommon Goods, they give back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $2.5 million to date. So cool products, good causes. Check it out. And to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/TFS. That's uncommongoods.com/TFS for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. And thank you, Uncommon Goods, for your support.
Thank you, Uncommon Goods.
And now back to the James Cameron's Avatar.
James Cameron's Avatar. Now, we've talked a lot in like broad strokes. I do have some specific things I need to get into.
Oh, lay it on me.
I need to get into right off the top of this movie. Because everything involving Jake's twin brother is so fucking wild.
So stupidly unnecessary.
So absolutely unnecessary. Like, if you just wanted this plot to be a Marine is an Avatar, it can just be the corporation thinks the scientists need a Marine to go with them. As they should, because they get attacked by a lot of creatures in the woods.
They just make an order that they have to put this person in the program.
But instead, you get this family. And what kind of cursed family the Sullys are that Jake goes to war or something and gets paralyzed. And then his brother, the scientist, dies in an unrelated mugging.
Yeah.
Your poor parents. My God, just tragedy will not stop befalling this family. But then the thing that like is so weird to me is that this is like a huge budget movie. And then the scene where they burn Jake's brother's body feels like it cost $5. It feels like the cheapest scene I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, I think they burn him like in a cardboard box, and it looks like it's just like some effects that they bought off of like a YouTube stock effect.
It also just looks like they're in like the back room of a restaurant. Like they, like his brother was a high-ranking scientist who I think made good money because they're offering Jake the same amount. And he's like, that's going to be good money. I'm going to be able to get the surgery to walk again. So like, but I'm also confused just plot-wise about why there's no funeral, because you're not taking his life. You're not pretending you're him.
Yeah.
And it feels like these like shady guys are like, you could go into space and be your brother. It feels like they want him to steal his identity. And that's why they burn the body secretly in a back room. But then he gets to space and like, you're not the guy. And we know you're Jake.
And even that once he gets to space, I will say that the twin brother thing really never comes up.
Not a factor.
Even in all these video logs and confessionals, he's never like, I miss my brother. Here was our relationship. Here's why I'm doing it, to honor him. It's really just a story about a man who's excited to have legs and mobility back. And like, that's a story worth exploring. Why do we start the movie with I have the same DNA as my twin brother who was killed in a mugging? And why are we moving past that as if that's not, again, another plot point that is a movie worth of things to explore?
Yes.
That's never explored.
There's a whole movie there about like, my brother is the scientist and he believes in the Na'vi and he thinks they're great and maybe I could learn to love them, or like maybe he's already gone up and come back before and the Na'vi are like, wait, you've changed, you're so different. Like, something interesting could be mined there, but instead they're just like, we need a reason for him not to be a scientist, but to have an avatar body.
And
this twin brother soap opera storyline they've come up with.
When in reality, they could just start the movie 10 minutes later and everything makes just as much sense.
Just as much sense. And then you're not worried about the poor Sully parents at home being like, both our sons.
Yeah, where's the rest of your family? Where's the insurance payout? What do we have going on here? Where's the inheritance? Because like they keep glancing on these things of wealth that they in no way want to explore, because this movie is for an aggressive environmental film, wildly apolitical, where they're just like, my brother was a scientist doing his best to help everyone. And the line he has and he was shot by some mugger for nothing more than the paper in his pocket.
The paper, yes, they don't even give a currency.
They don't even give a currency. And also there's something so like film noir about the way he says it and the clunky writing of that line. And be like, shot in an alley for nothing more than the paper in his pocket.
Yeah, I think which goes into like the cheapness of the funeral scene with the guys in the trench coats feeling very shady. For like 10 minutes, it's a noir film.
Yeah, like for the first 10 minutes, they're acting like this is going to be like a cool Blade Runner universe where like it's kind of grungy and people are spending 3 ducats for a bowl of ramen at the rainy stand.
And then you get to the Navi homeworld and you're like, oh God, it's so bright. Oh,
it hurts my eyes. Shit.
We had to pause the movie because it hurt my eyes.
Yes.
I had to go take a break.
It's fucked up, right? But they have that line about money. Then they also
paper in his wallet. I forgot about that.
For nothing but the paper in his pocket.
And
it's the alliteration of paper and pocket.
And also, like, I feel like right now in the year 2022, I currently don't have any cash on me.
Yeah.
I haven't touched cash since COVID started. I can't imagine in 200 years we're like, here's a 20. Yeah. Or a 200 or whatever inflation's brought us up to that cash would have to be at. But yeah, it would be like credit cards.
They're acting like it's the beginning of Batman. Like to be like, oh, he was murdered in an alleyway after seeing Zorro. Like, what are we doing
and now
here?
I'm him.
And then like they keep glancing on the like, we're going to have something to say about class and the wealth system. And don't, because then they also have this like, Sully being like, man, I can't afford we have the technology to like get full use of your legs back, but veterans insurance doesn't pay for it, and I don't have enough money. It's super expensive. Only rich people can afford to get full mobility back. And that's tough. It's tough how we treat veterans and how we treat the differently abled. And it's like, wow, okay, are we gonna have something to say about that? And then it's just like, nah, not really. Like he likes having legs as an avatar. And then later in the movie, the corporal's like, oh, actually, we will pay for that. And it's like, oh, thanks. And then we just don't. And then we never do. And then don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
We have nothing to say about wealth and income disparity
nothing to say about it at all. Or even just like how people are treated. Because at the first you're like, oh, everyone's being mean to him because he uses a wheelchair. A couple of grunts are like, oh, this guy, da-da-da. But then, like, almost immediately, the colonel is like, I need you to spy on people, and you're very valuable to me, and I'm gonna, like, and I think you're my friend. And I'm like, okay, so he's being, like, not even manipulated, because he does work for this man. This is his actual job.
Yeah.
So this isn't a manipulation, but it's like, everyone is like, no, you're totally an equal partner in this franchise. Like, you are a valued employee of this company. There is no discrimination happening because you use a wheelchair.
And the thing that I find so insane about the way people are disrespectful towards him, towards him and his use of a wheelchair as well, is that there are some things to say here. Like there are definitely some things that the movie could say. Some things about how we treat veterans. Veterans assistance is not well funded enough. Those who are injured in service are not taken care of. These very real world things that can carry over to this fantasy world where it's like you have all the funding in the world for soldiers when they're tools, but not enough funding when they've been injured in the line of duty. And that is a problem in our current society. It's a problem in this movie. But it's like everyone who disrespects him are his peers, which is not how that works. You know what I mean? Like injured veterans, when they come back, yes, do unfortunately have to face discrimination in society. And yes, unfortunately are disrespected. But they are largely disrespected by the insurance companies, by the government, the lack of funding. It's not usually like another private who's like, look at Hot Wheels, fucking dumb fuck. What'd you get blown up? And I'm like, why is that dude like that?
Yeah, it wouldn't
That dude would be like, hello, fellow Marine. I'm sorry you were like that's not how military service people treat one another. That's how higher ups treat you.
Yes.
But this movie is very much to be like, no, it's you and all of your friends who are shitty towards one another. The people higher up are actually pretty chill if you give them a chance.
Yeah, definitely, because every Marine here is like an experienced, like veteran Marine who definitely have friends and fellow Marines who they've seen injured and also use wheelchairs and definitely respect the hell out of. Like, he's not like some scientist who they're like, oh, weak little scientist. Like, they can tell he's a Marine.
Yeah. Yeah, and
He's
they're like, get out of the
clearly-
way, roly boy. How are you even like that? What the fuck are you? What are you?
Yeah, nothing to say about any of these like incredibly like polarizing topics that could have huge impacts and like
Yes.
real important messages. Absolutely nothing to be said.
No, as deep as a puddle. But it thinks it's deep.
It thinks it's very deep.
The fact that the corporation is just called the corporation.
I mean,
And
they're
the-
looking for unobtainium.
It's so wild that like it's so surface level. It should be silly, and it should be like it should be either like silly or whimsical or so heavy-handed it's farce. Like there's moments here where it's almost a Hideo Kojima video game.
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
where it's like you are so over the top with some of the things that you've done where it's like a Hideo Kojima game like the last one, Death Stranding. It's like you play a character who's trying to build literal infrastructure across America and bring people back together, and your name is Bridges. There's a guy named Hot Cold Man. You know, like you can be unpretentious about some of the shit that you do, and this movie does not have that.
No, if you have nothing to say, if you do make a truly apolitical film, it won't feel like anything. If you have literally no themes, it just washes over you like a literal tide of colors. And you're like, it's pretty,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have anything to say. So therefore, why would I think about it later? Why would I care about any of the characters? There's just nothing happening.
Nothing's happening in any regard with any of these characters. Yeah.
Crazy things in the beginning, though. I'm still on the beginning. I'm not
Sure.
going to go through the whole movie, but the beginning actually was like the craziest part for me. Because also in the beginning, we find out it takes 6 years to get here. You got to go into cryo. It takes 6 years to get here. But I think you can send messages back and forth from Earth way faster. But like cryo takes forever to actually travel. So this dude gets there, and Sigourney Weaver knows he's coming. She's fully aware of who Jake Sully is, that it's not his brother. She knows this guy is like has no training, doesn't know how to speak Na'vi, and she doesn't want to work with him and tries to send him back. It takes 6 years. You can't fire a man once he's arrived.
That's not how any of this works.
This is the largest relocation position in humanity's history. Once you've arrived on the planet, you have a job. I'm sorry, Sigourney Weaver.
And also, you're a terrible manager because you've provided no alternative. Like she goes to the corporal, or no, she doesn't go to the corporal. She goes to Giovanni Ribisi, who I think is like the CEO of
Something like that.
Unobtainium or whatever the fuck.
I'm the CEO of
Unobtainium or some shit. And she's like, this doesn't work. Okay.
Oh,
What's step 2 to your plan here? Do you have an alternative? Can you rework the avatar to work with someone else? Do you have someone else with his DNA? Do you just want to not do anything with this? In which case you're going to be set back. Like you're a project manager. Your entire job is to have a solution to this.
but also what's so frustrating is that there are solutions, because she's like, you haven't had any training. You're not a scientist. You don't speak Na'vi. Also, there are a dozen other people here who have avatars who don't do anything.
They were playing basketball and shit.
There was at least a dozen other people on this base who have avatars. So, like, when she goes on this first mission with Norm and Jake, it's like, well, why didn't you leave him at the base to, like, do avatar training and to learn how to speak Na'vi and find out what the creatures are so he knows which ones to run from and which ones to shoot? Like, why did you take him on a mission the first day he got here? You have a dozen other people with avatar bodies. This is what a project manager would do. You'd train them.
And I think this is just another example of James Cameron in this movie just coming up with ideas that he thinks are cool world building. And
What
not,
if there was a bunch of avatars?
Yeah, and not thinking of how it affects the story. To be like, what if when Jake runs out, there's like avatars playing like big basketball. The net's even taller than usual.
That would be a very tall net.
It was a very tall.
I didn't think about how that whole area was bigger than a human area.
I did clock it, which was difficult because James didn't put anything else in there for scale, so it fucks it up. But either way, I'm like, clearly you were like, what if Avatar, big basketball? And I'm like, okay, but now you've set up a bunch of these other people in the background, and where are they? Nothing's in service of the story. Nothing that's happening is in service of the story. But yeah, it's so forced that he is there, and why any of this. And Sigourney Weaver's dialogue in that opening section is so painful as well. And she also changes character types, I feel, midway through the movie, but without a progression. So it's like when Jake wakes up, it's just her, and she's like, "Where's my cigarette? I'm smoking a cigarette. I'm the busy boss who's busy. I don't care about people. I care about science results. So get me." And one of her lines was the clunkiest one, where she's like, "I didn't want you. I wanted your brother. But now your brother is dead. But you're here because you have his DNA. But you're a Marine. And I don't like Marines." I'm like, oh my God, kill me. This dialogue sucks.
That's a line that you include when you haven't had the opening scene where we already find out about the dead brother?
And then later in the movie, she turns into this like really nice ambassador to the Na'vi, and it's like kids love her, and she has like schools and outreach programs, and it's like, I thought she was the chain-smoking, mean boss lady.
And she's like taking care of Jake while he's avataring. She's like, I gotta make sure he eats and that he gets lots of sleep, and like just turns into a total maternal mother figure. And there's really no reason for the switch, because it's not like she's just mean to Jake. She's also mean to CEO guy. She's bossy pants for like 20 minutes of this movie, and then is like, actually, I'm nice.
Actually, don't worry about it.
Actually, I'm nice, and for some reason, my avatar looks way weirder than every other avatar. Did you notice that?
Yeah, well, how about this? You had a custom-made Stanford. You're like, this is my alma mater. This is my college. I need one of these made for a 7'9" avatar for me to bring in cryo for 6 years. What are we doing?
I hadn't really thought about that. I mean, she might have just ordered an extra large. I don't know if she got. You don't think an extra large would fit that body?
A tight crop top, like an extra large. When you need to go to a big and tall shop if you're an avatar.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, she had it custom made, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's not just a general extra large.
I don't really know how they run, but I also don't. I can't get a feel of how tall they are. I feel like it's taller than 7 feet. I feel like they're like 8 or 9 feet tall. But I wasn't talking about her clothes. Her face looks way weirder than everyone else's face. Her eyes are sunken in a weird way that is very non-complimentary to how Sigourney Weaver actually looks.
They're not very complimentary to Sigourney Weaver in this one in terms of how they've done her up in many regards, I feel. Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, she is not the rocking woman that I've known in every other film I've seen Sigourney Weaver in.
I agree. Yeah. So yeah, I can see what you're saying, that her avatar does look a little different. It looks a little weirder.
Yeah. And speaking of looking at things, I have a sincere question. No, looking at Avatar stuff. I have a sincere question because I think I didn't even watch like a good hour of this movie because I couldn't stop looking. And this is going to make me sound like a perv. Even though they're CG, I kept trying to spot a nipple slip on Zoe Saldana. And you're nodding your head.
Yes.
Did you also do this?
Yeah, because it's all confusing and upsetting.
Because she didn't have a shirt on. She just had a necklace that, because she's CG, they were like, the necklace will always be over the nipples, no matter how she moves.
And
like, we can just make sure there's no nip slips because we are making every single frame. But me as a human being watching this, I'm like, there's going to be a nipple slip.
But
I've
also,
been trained.
Do they have nipples? They might not have nipples.
I think they do. I think the guys have nipples, so I would think the girls do.
Do they?
I thought they did.
Maybe
I was looking.
they do. Yeah.
But like, everyone's covered up quite a bit, and I'm just like, I'm lost in the clothes a lot. The clothes were messing me up so bad on these avatars a lot of the time. Mostly like the actual Na'vi, not so much just like I brought a big shirt that says Stanford on it.
I see what you're saying
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
distracting to the point where I'm like, I don't actually know what just happened. I couldn't figure out if Zoe Saldana painted her legs or if those are leggings of some kind the Na'vi own.
I was also very distracted by it as well. So you're not alone on that one. I was also even like just checking out the dudes. I'm like, what is going on here?
Checking out the dude.
I was just waiting to see. I'm like, what's the genital situation? Like, we have a love scene as well. And in the love scene, it felt clunky and awkward, but I'm like, I don't know if it feels clunky and awkward because I've never seen two 8 feet tall people fuck. I'm like, I've never seen Dolph Lundgren and Brigitte Nielsen bang.
But we know they have.
I assume it looks like this, but this is the blue version of that.
Yeah, the genital situation was another thing where it's like, they're CG, so nothing's going to happen. They've strategically placed the tails over the ass cracks, so you will never see a full butt.
Yeah. You'll never see a cat's full asshole.
But also their bodies weren't aligned in a way that like sex was happening in the way that we understand sex. And I'm going to posit that probably what they were supposed to do, and people were, and like at some point James Cameron must have been like, this is too gross. I think their tails were supposed to do that mingly thing.
Oh, those tails did the mingling thing.
The sex for Na'vi is definitely the tail mingling thing. Your eyes get all blown out and you get high or something.
100%.
It's bonding. It's literally how you bond with people. So they definitely like were in kind of a human sexual position, but it definitely should be a scene where Jake's like, we're going to do what? To have sex? Like even when they kissed, I was like, why would the Na'vi kiss? Like, why would that be a transferable thing? It's not like I see like dogs kissing or other animals, like a gorilla. That's a very human trait. So yeah, there's definitely should be a scene where Jake's like, oh, so our tails, that's the sex?
That's the where does sex?
Where does sex?
Yeah.
This is the end of my training to become a man in the Na'vi. I need the birds and the bees talk.
Tell me where does sex?
And it would definitely be tail related.
It's got to be. I'm glad we all agree that it is tail related.
Excellent. We all agree sex would be tail related. So you're having sex with the birds too.
Ooh, I think probably like there's maybe like a different tail.
They've only got one tail.
But like, you know how like the tentacles come out? I'm gonna say there's other tentacles in there. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's animal tentacles and there's lover tentacles.
Yeah. So I think there's different connections.
I think that makes, you know what? I'm actually gonna totally buy that. The penis has several functions.
Yeah. Things have several functions. So I'm gonna say there's several functions.
I feel bad for all the birds.
Why do you feel bad for the birds?
They're being mind controlled. They don't want to do this until they're like the tails line up and they have to do it. And here's the main reason I feel bad for the birds. When you domesticate an animal, like if you like break a horse or you like get a dog as a pet, you're promising that animal, I'm going to protect you and feed you in exchange for your services. They fly the birds and then they tell the birds to fuck off. And that's what I don't like about it. The birds have to find their own shelter. The birds have to find their own food. The birds are not protected from predators by the Na'vi.
The birds are more like a familiar? Not even quite that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't like anything about this symbiotic relationship.
Here's what I really didn't like about the bird situation.
Tell me about the bird situation.
Is that so Jake Bond, like when we're introduced to the bird, Zoe Saldana's character is like, this isn't like horses. They're not like horses. This isn't a joke animal.
This is a serious bonding experience.
This is a serious thing. Horses, dime a dozen. You can bond with any old horse.
Horses fucking suck.
But she was like, when you bond with a bird, you're with that bird for life. And it was like, oh shit, okay, like you can't share birds.
Yeah, and that bird won't bond with anyone, and you can't bond with another bird. It seemed very like monogamous relationship.
And Jake bonds with a bird, and then later bonds with a different, bigger bird.
I was also upset for his original bird.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, what a cheating little bitch. Your original bird's not good enough for you, Jake?
What are you doing? You had a bond with that bird.
I'd kick you out of the bird tribe. I'd kick you out of the Na'vi.
Yes.
Rude.
Very rude.
Rude. If you want to fly Turok, I think was his name.
Okay.
That has to be your first bird.
That is to be, yeah.
By all the rules
Or you didn't have a
learned.
bird until that point in the movie.
Oh, that actually would have worked great.
Oh, I've got so many things that could be my what would you change about this movie. So much of it is truly insane. The fact that Jake had these orders to spy for the Colonel. So he's supposed to be spying for the Colonel and giving intel on how to attack. And then later when the Colonel makes the big villain turn, and the Colonel, like, I mean, not villain turn because we know he's the villain, but the Colonel's like,
Literally from day one, he's like, I want to attack these people.
the Colonel's like, I'm going to go in and attack. And Sigourney Weaver's like, why? And he's like, I've been spying on the dream journal that you told Jake to do. And it's like, oh, so Jake spying had no effect on this plot whatsoever. It was just you intercepting the dream journals that Sigourney Weaver told him to make.
Made him. He didn't even want to do them.
Yeah.
She was like, you have to do a dream journal every time you wake up from your avatar body.
Forced him to do, even after they left. That was what betrayed them, which was intercepting an email or hacking into your computer, and it had nothing that. So I'm like, this whole subterfuge on a spy thing goes nowhere. And especially even when Jake is initially actually reporting to the Colonel and spying, the Colonel's like, where do I attack? And Jake's like, okay, here's what's going on. It's a big tree, and they go up in it, and you're basically going to want to attack the tree.
And they're like, we had no idea the tree on top of the unobtainium was where we should shoot the missiles.
There's no strategy. There's nothing they glean or learn from Jake in any way. It really is the Colonel being like, I would like to kill them. And Jake comes back and he's like, I have found out that they are vulnerable to physical harm.
Whoa.
And the Colonel's like, shit, we're just going to do that. And then later at the movie, they shoot missiles in a straight line is the big strategy. So why did we have this whole plot of subterfuge?
Yeah, he could have not known there was going to be an attack or just not helped in any way. It did not matter. Like, what was the Colonel going to do if he didn't help? Like, attack from the top of the tree? Like, what are the other options to knock down a tree?
Yeah. There's no other options.
You'd probably start at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Give it the old flipsy doodle.
The old flipsy doodle. Shoot that missile straight in, and that's what you're gonna do.
And also, here's what bothered me a lot about this storyline, is the fact that unobtainium is called unobtainium, first of all, because like it feels like they found the word on TV tropes and didn't replace it in the script afterwards, like they were supposed to. Like, we'll fill that in with something else later. But the unobtainium is an energy conductor, and it's such a good energy conductor that they need it for like phones and stuff, probably, like really high-tech devices.
Yeah, it's lithium.
But the unobtainium is under their home and nothing happens with it.
They don't get it.
Neither side gets it, and neither side uses it in any way. Like, it's an energy conductor. Why can't the Na'vi, who are so connected to this planet, use it to shoot lightning or something? Like, their tree should shoot a big bolt out of it and knock some ships out of the sky. Like, it's nothing.
It's like if Wakanda forgot to do anything with vibranium.
Yes, it is absolutely like that. It's like all of the countries of the world attack Wakanda for vibranium, and they're like, oh man, if only we had some kind of defense that we could use to defend Wakanda.
Some item of value.
That's like really hard to get and really powerful. If only we had something. I guess Jake will just throw a rock.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just hit a camera with a rock.
He'll bash a camera with a rock, and that'll do it.
Instead of making like our weapons out of unobtainium or our arrows, or like knowing how to like source it and make it explode or something.
And the other thing that's truly insane as well is it's just like, you're trapped here, humans.
Oh, yes.
So they blow up the tree using, at one point they say, it's like, what are we using to blow it up? And they say, they're like, it's all of the TNT and explosives used for mining. And I'm like, well, then how are you going to mine? You are here with limited resources. You are a 12-year round trip from Earth. You need the mining explosives for mining. And why are you using it to blow things up? I would assume that was why you needed them to leave peacefully, because you don't have the resources to fight a war and mine. But they use all of their mining gear to win a war to get stuff that they won't be able to mine. And then they have no mining gear, nothing of value. They're trapped here with a bunch of destroyed gear and dead people, 12 years round trip from Earth. What is your plan?
They're also absolutely 100%. They've got no way to mine it. And also I think the other reason that you need the Na'vi to leave peacefully is that you are wildly outnumbered by these giant aliens. Like, in a war of attrition, when you have no troops coming in, you have no families creating more humans, the Na'vi are going to destroy you easily by the end point.
Yes.
Like you can kill them. Sure, you have guns. You're going to run out of bullets because you're 12-year round trip away. And the Na'vi are going to be like, we make arrows out of trees and the whole planet is trees. And we can call tribes. And there's now 20,000 of us after only 4 days. You're fucked, humans.
Yeah.
You needed us to leave peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way to win this war. No one did any strategy beyond day one. No one was like, here's the 5-year plan of mining the unobtainium. Like, they're building a new apartment building next to us, and it's going to take 3 years to build one building. And they're like, we got a 2-day plan to maybe get some unobtainium. We haven't thought anything past that.
No, nothing at all past that. No cost-benefit analysis.
Cost-benefit analysis. Loss prevention.
Yeah.
Loss of life analysis.
Well, and the other thing, too, is they're like, underneath that tree is the biggest deposit of unobtainium. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, but where's the rest of the unobtainium?
Is there anywhere else? Or is this like in Wakanda where all the vibranium was from a meteor?
And they give the impression they're like, we have unobtainium. It's everywhere. There's just a really big one under them. But it's like, did you mine it from everywhere else? Because it seems the cost benefit of getting this is shit. I get unobtainium's not on Earth, but you're already up here mining it.
Yeah.
So it seems like you could just continue your current operations and do nothing but make profit. And then to scale up operations and go to war actually feels like a financial loss.
Yeah.
So why would you do it if the only goal is, you are the corporation, the unnamed corporation, which implies that your only goal is money. So why are we doing any of this?
Why are we doing any of it? Yeah, like as you said, they already are mining. Like the Na'vi have kind of given up the place where they landed and have already started mining. So if you just continue on from where you are and just maybe slowly build out and don't kill their home, like the biggest city that they have.
Yep.
You'd probably get to stay for years and years, and then you could slowly build power and take them over that way, which is maybe worse. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you did this. I guess I'm glad you fucked this up so fast and soon. Because slowly taking over is harder to fight back against.
Yeah,
that's a real Andor. Like, you gotta move quick as soon as oppression starts.
Absolutely, and I think even the heroes of this movie are shitty. Like at one point, Sigourney Weaver's character, I think once they figure out what the Tree of Life is, Sigourney Weaver, who was never super pro killing the Na'vi.
Oh no, she didn't want to.
She never wanted it, but she was like, if we have to, I'm going to try to avoid it though. After she finds out the Tree of Life is real, at one point she runs in and she's talking to the CEO of Unobtainium. And she's like, we can't destroy them and we can't destroy the tree. Their beliefs are real and have a basis in science. It turns out the trees have a neural connection and they talk to one another. It's a living planet. And that's why we can't kill them. And I'm like, you shouldn't kill them because they're there and they're people.
You shouldn't want to kill them no matter what.
Yes.
And also, you're just describing trees.
Yes.
Earth trees, also one big network.
Yeah.
I think you can separate them a little. Like, they seem to think, like, literally everything is connected to everything here, I guess. But, like, Earth's got, like, our trees are like lots of roots. They go real far.
They go real far, and like there are living forests where they connect with one another. They don't hold the consciousness of dead loved ones.
Oh yeah, I guess they do that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a pretty big deal.
But I think that this is something that is also part of the movie's offensiveness, where it's just like, what if we had to respect indigenous people because they were scientifically right? Be like, why don't you just respect them because they're living people who have a belief, and just that's it. We don't need
and this is their home.
And this is it. That's
and you're invading.
That's 100% of the only real reason that you need respect is that.
Yeah.
So yeah, just an offensive thing. But that's also something that you see a lot in science fiction as well, where it's just like, what if these native people's beliefs were actually scientifically correct, and then would you respect them? It's like, I respected them before.
I respected the shit out of them.
Why did you have to be like this?
Their beliefs were don't cut down our trees, and I'm like, that's dope.
Dope, chill. Let's just not do that.
And like respect an animal that you kill before you eat it. And I'm like, I like that too. I don't need to know if you can hear the animal's thoughts or you're connected to it or you put your tail in its butt and you can control it. I don't.
You got to put the tail in the butt.
Tail in the butt or whatever Na'vi sex is. We don't know.
1 inch deep. What if you literally became one with nature? Yeah, I get it. That's the point of the film. Okay. Yeah, but they can plug in and actually become one with it.
So they're like computer people or something. I don't even.
Okay. All right. Sure. That's not anything, James. Come on, James.
Come on, James.
Well, I'm feeling pretty good on Avatar. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I got one more goof, but it's
Lay
like
it
a
on me.
complicated goof.
I would love to hear this.
You want to hear my complicated goof?
Want nothing more.
All right. So I don't think the Na'vi have like a large messaging system to get out to other people. I think you have to go to a tribe to talk to them. Like they don't have like emails.
Mm-hmm.
So I just need to know. So they take Jake to meet all the tribes to gather them up to like go fight the humans. But that means the other Na'vi have been able to tell Jake's not a real Na'vi.
Mm-hmm.
They know he's some kind of weird dreamwalker or whatever. So you're introducing this guy to like 5 or 6 tribes. And you're like, oh, aliens are real. This is one. We trust this one. And the other ones are attacking. This is a several days long process, is what I'm saying.
Do the other tribes know about the humans?
I don't feel like they would, because like the humans landing is a big deal, but like there's so much space that like the other ones wouldn't even know. I wouldn't think, unless they're hearing about it through the tree network,
or
they're plugging their tails in and they're getting their emails,
or the humans have been mining over in their areas of the planet as well. Maybe,
but it just feels like it would be a long talk.
I agree with
It'd
that.
be like, this is a human. He's in one of our bodies. We know about this. You probably haven't interacted with it.
Riding into a city on a horse, being like, guys, I've got 4 pieces of very big news. I hope you are sitting down, and also don't sit down long because you all need to pick up arms and start riding out immediately.
We gotta go. I'm sorry, there won't be time for questions. You've gotta trust me on this one.
I'll tell you on the way. What? Everyone get your weapons. I'll tell you on the way.
Also, he doesn't speak English, so I don't know why we brought him. Or he only speaks English, so I don't know why we brought him.
Yeah. No, he knows the language a little bit, I think.
He knows like a few words. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very curious to see how this sequel is going to do 13 years later to a movie that, I mean, James Cameron constantly is surprising. You know, like this is one that like I didn't think it would pop off, and it did. Titanic was one that famously critics and everyone highly made fun of as the expected flop of the year, and is, you know, the 3rd or 2nd on the highest grossing movies of all time.
And you shouldn't bet against Cameron.
You shouldn't bet against Cameron. Yes. So it'll be interesting to see how the second one goes, but I do think that the first one, part of the reason why it blew up at the box office so much is it really did come out in this sweet spot of curiosity about 3D movies, that whether or not you liked 3D movies, that was the barometer. That was the one I think everyone went to see to be like, do I like going to 3D movies in the future? It was like everyone paid for an eye test. James Cameron provided an eye exam that everyone paid $20 for. And I don't think it would get that. I like everyone's made up their mind.
3D kind of doesn't happen anymore.
No one cares.
Like when we went to buy tickets for the next one coming out, it's the first time I've seen mostly 3D viewing since before COVID.
Yeah, we had a tough time finding, like we're looking
2D.
For tickets right now,
Yeah,
but we're having a tough time finding 2D showings.
Yeah, so I remember it a little bit differently. To me, it wasn't testing to see if 3D is a thing we like, because it was kind of like a heyday of 3D maybe. Like there'd been a few 3D movies already. But I think all the other 3D movies, everyone knew it was like post-production 3D, or it was like only like a few scenes are like 3D and look kind of cool. This was, I think, the first movie that was like huge budget and made to be 3D. And like there's no like color correction that makes it dark and hard to see, and there's stuff that's purposely gonna pop out at you. Like it's gonna be the most expensive, coolest 3D, like luxury 3D. And that's what I think people were sold on for this one. It's not gonna be like the cheap 3D, like a scare tactic 3D. Because I saw a bunch of 3D movies. I saw like My Bloody Valentine was a 3D movie. Like you could just make cheap horror movies in 3D, but this was like the luxe version.
And I do remember seeing it, and there was a moment when like those little like jellyfish pollen things from the trees
Oh, yeah.
start coming down in the theater, and I was actually like, huh, like it actually like got me. It felt like it was raining down on me. So there were moments where I'm like, oh, technologically, you did good work, and even like for some of the stuff behind the scenes on this, that like. James and his crew invented a whole new technology for like filming in a mocap 3D environment and getting it on monitors immediately in like a rough cut of what that 3D environment is.
Oh, for 2009, that's huge.
Even now, that's huge. Like they trademarked that technology and leased it out. Like they were the first ones to figure out how to do that. So like I know that they made huge technological advancements. And James is always going to get a cut of that money. So even if this next movie flops, I'm pretty sure that there is just invention money that is coming in for James Cameron from the last one.
I mean, I'm not worried about James Cameron.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not on my top list of concerns. But I am interested to see if people care about this movie, if they care about 3D, or like the next one, if they care about 3D, or if they just maybe like trust in James Cameron.
It'll be, I think, like a real watershed moment for like what the future of 3D in films is going to be. I think that's going to be
a way of watershed moment.
I see what you did.
I made a joke about the title.
Well, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? So now that we discussed everything we've discussed, what would you change about this? If you could change anything. Before we do, we would like to thank our final sponsor of today's episode. We'd like to thank our friends over at tpublic.com.
tpublic.com. You're my very best friends. I've ordered so many things from you, so many wonderful shirts. You can get so many nerdy designs on pretty much anything you want, on tank tops, on, like within reason, on tank tops, on hoodies, on t-shirts, on different tank tops. There's like different styles. I have like 3 different styles of tank tops, and it's so cool that you can just be like, oh God, any way I want to wear it.
Different fabrics, different cuts, different colors, lots of different size selection. You can also get accessories like cell phone cases, laptop cases, stickers, a fantastic selection of stuff, and all of the designs that you find on tpublic.com are cool designs by independent artists. Like the one that I am liking, it is one by us.
We are the independent artists.
It's called Johnny is Fine, and it is the Human Torch sitting in an apartment that is on fire in the style of the meme with a speech balloon that says, "This is fine."
And it's fine because he's on fire too.
In that scenario, it's actually fine.
It's nice that things can be fine. It's all about perspective.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that shirt's all about. My shirt is a Star Trek shirt, and it says "Energize," and it's a Star Trek like transporter beam into a cup of coffee. Because I'm a basic bitch who needs coffee to energize me in the morning, and I think that's a nice combination of Star Trek and just love and coffee.
I love it. I think it's cute. I'm all about it. And if you like either of those designs or any of the ones we've previously mentioned on the podcast, you're going to want to go check out our storefront at tpublic.fromsuperheroes.com. That is teepublic.fromsuperheroes.com. When you shop through that store link and you purchase anything at all, not only do you support the artist who designed that whatever design you pick out, you also directly support this podcast as well, whether you get something from our store or from the site as a whole. So head over to tpublic.fromsuperheroes.com. That is teepublic.fromsuperheroes.com. And thank you, TeePublic, for your support.
Thank you so much, TeePublic.
And as well, we want to remind you, as we do every single week, please take a moment to help us out for free by rate, reviewing, and subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, wherever you get your podcasts.
This holiday season, all we want to know is if you like us, and we only want to know that if the answer is yes, here's 5 stars. Whatever podcast provider you use, we would love it so much if you could put some new reviews into our thing. People check those, and if there's new ones, they're like, oh, this is like an active, cool, hip happening podcast. I should check it out. You can see the date sometimes, so it's really nice to have like new current ones in there. We would love that as our Christmas presents from you guys.
Free present. Give it to us. We really appreciate it.
Gimme.
And as well, if you want to support the podcast monetarily, you can do that over on Patreon, which is a monthly subscription service where you can subscribe to content creators you know and love, like us, and get cool bonuses for doing it. So whatever is in your budget, you can do $1, $5, $10, $20, whatever you got going on. You'll get some type of exclusive bonus no matter what your donation level is. And then also you can cancel or change on any given month. So if your budget or finance changes, you can always cancel, you can always lower, you can do whatever you need to do. At the $10 hero level, you get a bonus episode of this podcast every single month. And this month's bonus episode will be on James Cameron's The Abyss, his other water baby. So that will be available soon on the Patreon page. So you're gonna want to be a hero level patron for that. So head on over to patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That's patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And thank you to all of our current and hopefully future patrons.
Thank you so much, patrons, for your support.
Yes. And now, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? Diana, what would you change?
Oh my God, this is so hard because this movie has so many little changes it needs. Like, it is not an overhaul movie. Like, Sam Worthington shouldn't be the lead. There's just so many things happening. This is gonna sound like a small one, but it's probably what bothered me the most. So what I need to change the most. There's only 3 avatars. So Sigourney Weaver is there, and she's the first avatar, and she opened this school, and she was the only one. And then when Norm and Jake arrive, they're like the first backup avatars she's ever had, which is why Jake has to join the team. Because the fact that there are like 12 other avatars here who viably could go out and just help with projects infuriates me. Then we see them at the end, they still get to stay, and they're in their avatar bodies, and I think it's so terrible that this Marine boy gets to be the lead of this movie. So at least if he's going to be the lead, he needs to be like, we have to take him out because these are my only 2 backup avatars and I don't have any other options because of the genetic thing. And that's like, there's so many other little changes I could do, but that's going to be my main one because it's the takeaway that I was most bothered with as I walked away. I was like, why are there so many avatars? He didn't do anything. So Jake and Norm are the first avatars that have ever arrived other than Sigourney Weaver. That's my big change.
I like that. I can get on board with that. Yeah, I agree. There was too many background ones. What were they doing?
What were they doing all the time?
Yeah.
Why were there mobile avatar places? Why would you ever need that except to escape the company? There was just so much weird stuff happening with the avatars that were unexplained. So that's me. That's my change. Andrew, what would you change in Avatar, this perfect film?
Oh boy, so much to change. I love what you're describing. That there should be a more of a necessity to use him. So I agree with getting rid of the other avatars. I say, real quick, we get rid of the twin brother. That storyline's gone.
Bye.
Absolutely, get out of here. See you later.
They just wanted a Marine to protect you.
Absolutely. I might even go so far as to say Jake is the only avatar.
Whoa.
So one thing that I was thinking is that because he is a paraplegic, I think that maybe they need it's connected through the spine. And it's connected through, and they're like, we can't doing this to someone without spinal damage would damage their spine. But we can actually your disability is an ability. You have importance and purpose, and I feel like that can be kind of his driving thing is finding new value and importance in life, but then realizing that wasn't what he wanted as well. Just wanting back into the Marines and to work. And, being kind of addicted to that life and then finding it and realizing that that's not what he wants.
Ooh, that could be so interesting.
So I think that would be kind of one of my big changes for him. That, and I think that there should be kind of a pyramid of disagreement about how to play this out. Is that I think that the corporation and the Colonel should also kind of be at odds as well, because there's obviously a lot here that has to do with just hate and prejudice, and the Colonel represents that. Giovanni Ribisi is the CEO of Unobtainium. He wants money, and he's like, look at money. I'm here to work at money. When he's doing a weird accent, he's like, we're time to get money. We're moneying here on the planet. So he wants money, and the Colonel is clearly filled with anger and hate and resentment towards this planet, and he wants to colonize, whereas the other person just wants to profit. And those are aligned for a large portion of this movie, but I actually want to see them butt heads towards the end.
Like at the end when it's all the explosives have been used.
Yeah. To have Giovanni Ribisi being like, this is not cost beneficial. What we are spending here to wage a war outweighs what we are going to get. And the Colonel not caring. So I kind of want to see that to be the delicate balance of villainy and how quickly they turn against one another when those odds are against each other. So I kind of want a little bit more of a tricky standoff triangle between these 3 groups of the scientific, the financial, and the military.
You want some themes and some conflict.
And yeah, definitely some themes and conflict should be.
It's too much to ask.
It's just too much. You can't do themes and conflict.
You can't.
So that's where I'm at. I think that Jake should be the only one, and it should be due to who he is, and then a little pyramid.
I like that change, and now I feel silly because I'm like, I think there should only be 3, and I'm like, oh, I like just 1 even better. We're just really cutting down on the number of avatars.
Yeah. You know what? No avatars.
No, they're just humans.
Yeah, just humans. That's it. Well, that's going to be it for Avatar, but not everything for Avatar because
we've got more Avatar coming.
we have more Avatar coming. We will be back next week to talk about Avatar: The Way of the Water.
Woo!
Woo! But we'll
Tune in.
We'll tune in.
We'll let you know whether we got a spoiler-free review section to let you know whether you should also check out Avatar: The Way of Water.
You're gonna at least want to check out that spoiler-free section. We will be back next week. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, you can find me on Instagram at Ivimey, Ivimey.
You can find me still on Twitter at Words of Diana, but also my Tumblr's really fun.
And you can find both of us most places at From Superheroes. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.